Hey guys, welcome to Mosport, also known officially as Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I'm doing it a little different this week. I haven't had time this weekend between Skip Barber 2K and the Daytona 24. I haven't had time to work on a setup, so I'm using Renz Broekman's setup from last season with VRS, and that's definitely a plenty solid baseline to work with. Hopefully I'll get a adjusted setup out in a couple days or so, but for now that setup should work just fine. And I also, when recording this particular lap, I seem to not quite have my setup fixed from streaming the Daytona race, so my video did not record in a manner that's suitable for viewing. It jumps around a lot. So we're just going to be doing it from this mode. And without further ado, here is the lap. Alright, there we go. And that was, if that is right, a 1:17.8 or so. It's not quite Renz Broekman quick, but not too shabby for a race pace lap for minimal practice. So anyway, starting the lap back over, one thing to note for this upcoming corner and most of the corners on the track is I've seemed to get better lap times and sector times by definitely focusing on being a little more gradual with my brake application and letting the car roll through the corner a little bit better. That seems to give more consistent times here. And if you try to push your brake point a little bit later, it definitely seems to hurt lap times more than help them in almost every corner. So something to keep in mind is squeeze onto the brake and don't slam on it. Don't push your brake points too aggressively. Instead, try to control your transition from brake to accelerator, and yeah, slow in, fast out. So again, first corner. So that wall there, I've been braking a little past that wall. I think there's a little patch of dirt we'll see right up here. We sneak our way up. Yeah, I just got off the throttle and I start to apply the brakes right up here. I'm still in fourth gear and I'm going to stay in fourth gear. And so as I'm getting up to the corner, I'm just gently applying the brakes to help control the attitude of the car. And right about here is where I start to apply full throttle. I actually think I got on the throttle a little early through here, so I had to make a lift in order to stay on the track. But right in this area is where you want to start rolling onto the throttle, and this is about where your apex area is too. So there's my little lift just to make sure I stay on the track. I don't really have a set brake point through here. It's done by feel really, but this is one where you see I won't be doing too heavy of braking because this corner can have bad things happen if you overdo the brakes. So you want to start wide and you want to tuck in as we crest over this rise here. And you can see there's a pretty significant drop off through here, so you don't want to go too crazy with your inputs. You also don't want to swing out too wide because it's very easy. If you start to slide wide, you can get caught out here very easily. But you do want to swing out a bit. I kind of treat it as a double apex of sorts. They get fairly close to this, right where this pavement kicks out here. And then I start to roll onto the throttle. It's a lot easier to tell where you can do that after you've done a couple laps in here and you start to get a feel for how this section flows. But I'm going to try and do my second apex of the double apex right over here. This is about as far right as I like to go. I don't want to go too much further right because, again, as you start to slide right, it's very easy to go into the no man's land out here. And as I'm doing track out, I'm not really trying to get all the way over here because there's not very much distance before we have to get up here to the left. And I actually didn't get as far left as I'd like for this lap. But you don't want to, really maximize your exit here only to have to compromise your entry right up here. So you kind of do a best of both worlds situation. So again, as we're approaching the second part of the double apex, starting to get on the throttle, aiming right about here. And I've been braking, again, it's kind of by feel, but somewhere in this general vicinity, and I dropped to third gear. And this is another one of the corners where it's more squeezing on the brake instead of pushing your brake point and then hammering on the brake. Try to be smooth through that section. And again, as this curbing starts to end is where I start to get onto the throttle. You can use this curb as much as you want. I didn't quite get all the way through this time, but I got pretty darn close. And a little before this bridge is where I brake for this corner. You definitely want to start wide, but you don't want to tuck in too early. So I don't even attempt to get to the inside right here. I'm actually aiming for this little lump of curbing right up here for my apex because I want to stay as far left as possible right here. So I'm just starting to get onto the brakes there. We're a little ways after where this curbing ends, right about this point here. You can kind of see there's that little patch of grime in the road there. There's a little bit of a repair mark there, and this is about where I've been getting on the brakes. And if you overshoot your brake point here, you're definitely not going to be on the track because you'll just slide right over as you get up to this crest and you start to lose grip. So again, don't push your brake point too deep through here. And there's a lot of different ways to take this corner. I've tried a shallow entry staying inside. I've tried going deeper and getting a more aggressive run out of the corner. And it really just depends on what works best for you. Try shallow. Try going all the way to the outside. On this particular lap, I kind of take a middle approach, and that seems to work pretty reliably. So as I've come through here and I've hit the first apex, I'll give a little blip of throttle just to, because we're straightening the car out a little bit, just temporarily. We've gotten through the first corner, and I don't want to keep turning too sharply because I want to get a good late apex for the second part of the corner. And so as we're coming up to this next bit, I'm doing a little bit more braking, nothing too crazy. And then what I want to do is not hit this too hard. I want to be able to put power down reliably on all four wheels. So I'm trying to get close to this but not really hit it. You can see there, well, let's take a look here. We're pretty darn close. Yeah, you can't get too much closer than that, so that's just what you're looking for right there. Oh, that's not the right angle. That's for my triple monitors. There we go. And so now that we're just clipping that curbing, that's where I'm using my throttle on point. And don't want to really overshoot over here, just the way this car drives. Because as soon as I'm hitting the throttle, it's definitely going to straight. So I delayed a little bit, and I can clip this curbing, but I don't want to go too far past it because I'm going to compromise my speed for this straightaway. And I call it a straightaway, but as you can see, there's about 7 corners within the straightaway. now, there's something that we can call a true corner instead of kind of a kink in the straightaway. Where I've been braking here is a little after where this ridge ends. This is another corner, once again, where you will benefit from braking a little bit sooner versus really pushing the limits of your brake point. So there's this kind of transition right, come on play, there we go. Right in here you can see where the transition is. I've been using that as a reference point, and I think I braked a little too soon on this lap, but you can push that a little bit further, like right about here, but you don't want to go too much past that because then you're pushing too hard and you will lose too much speed trying to slow down. You won't get a good run through these next couple corners. But we're staying to the left, braking right in this area. And I just shifted straight from 5th to 3rd here once I slowed the car down enough. But I'm going to miss this curb here. I'm not too terribly concerned about getting to this apex. I'm more concerned about this apex and taking a late apex and staying right. And we're not in full throttle for long before we have to go left again. So we took that corner in 3rd. We're going to take this one in 3rd and the right-hander after this in 3rd. So once again, we just compromise this corner. We're going to compromise this one. Not getting too crazy on the brakes here. I did get pretty aggressive for just a moment as I'm going straight, but as soon as I start to turn my wheel to the left there, you could see I let off on my braking pressure. So straight, heavy pressure, and as soon as I turn left, a little bit less pressure. And again, I want to stay left here. I can use the throttle at this point because the car is going to keep rotating how I want it to, but I want to stay left here. And then a late apex seems to work well here. The goal is to just kiss the apex and be on full throttle right about that point to track out and use all of the curbing on the final straight here in the front. So there you go. That's Mosport. Hope you enjoyed and see you on the track.